This is John Gilroy from the Federal Tech Podcast.
And this is Kevin Bocek from Venafi.
Today, we're going to talk about managing machine identities. Hit the music, Manny.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, where industry leaders share insights on innovation with a focus on reducing cost and improving security for federal technology. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcast.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast. My name is John Gilroy, and I will be your moderator. Our guest today is Kevin Bocek, Vice President, Security, Strategy, and Threat Intelligence at a company called Venafi. And today we're going to talk about non-person entities. We're going to talk about non-machine entities. We're going to talk about managing machine identities. My first question to you, Kevin, is, why should we worry about something like this? I know that's what your company does. Your company's been around a while, very successful. And I got to toss out this Warren Buffett quote. Okay, Warren Buffett once said, "Don't ask a barber if you need a haircut." So I get you on the podcast and I say, "Hey, Kev, should we worry about machine identities?" And you're going to say, "Well, yeah, huh? So why worry about it?"
Here's why, John. I mean, if you think about everything we're hearing today, it is all about machines, machine learning, AI, cloud. What makes a business valuable? What makes government do its job for citizens better? What is even important on the battlefield we hear today, which is all about machines, about AI, cloud. And you know what? There are only more machines. There's all this cloud software. It's all the web services, all the AI, the code the AI is creating. There's a lot more of that than us as humans, and only more so to the future. Actually, we should maybe consider ourselves the non-machines.
Here we go. Turning the tables.
So first, what's important and what, really is, differentiating both the government services and business. It's all about machines, which just like people, we got to know which ones are good or bad, friend or foe. Actually, Aristotle thousands of years ago came up with this idea of the rule of identity, the law of identity, which if something exists, it must have an identity. So all of the cloud services, all of the AI, machine learning that we're using today and tomorrow, we got to know whether it's good or bad, friend or foe. That's why machine identity management is important.
Okay, next question number 2. So it's going to have value for our listeners because everyone's talking about artificial intelligence and machine. Well, the machine's right in the whole phrase there, isn't it? And we live in a world where humans have to be identified, and apparently system processes, non-person entities have to be identified. So what role does your company play? So why should my gubbies care about what Venafi does?
Well, you know what? You can observe this each and every day. When you log on to your bank website, when you log on for a government service, you notice that there's a padlock in your browser. That padlock means that your machine, which is the browser, a mobile device, has talked to another machine, a web server on the other end, and say, yep, you know what? I think this is who it says it is on the other. I've authenticated it. So we feel this each and every day already. Now, of course, there are hundreds or thousands of machines all working in the background, whether I access a government website, whether I log in to order something online. So, wow, software and machines are only more and more important. And, we've probably experienced problems with this all in our lives. We've gone to log on to some website and it says, yep, can't trust that site. That might because its machine identity is misconfigured. It might be expired. And that problem is only getting more complex. You might have tried to download an app and it says, yep, can't install that. It doesn't come signed, which machine, it doesn't have a machine identity. So it's something we all feel already. And as we live in a world that's more and more digital, you get on an airplane, it's just a big mobile device. apps are installed? How do you know which ones are good or bad, friend or foe? We hear about in the federal government about zero trust. What does zero trust mean? It means always authenticated. So it always has to have an identity, all those machines. So that's what Venafi does. We help manage the life cycle of all the identities of these machines, especially the software that makes business and government run. We make sure that all those machines can be authenticated, that they can be authorized. And then finally, of course, really important, it's governed. In a world where developers and engineers are making the future, we have to make sure that there's the governance. They need to focus on new features, speed, especially the security teams need to make sure they're doing it safely.
Kevin, I live in rural Virginia near the Blue Ridge, and I have this silly house. I got 3 refrigerators, I've got a pond, and I have a backup generator. And so whenever there's a power outage, hey, I'm in business, everything's working. And let's take that and apply that to the security world, okay? Yeah. So you're humming along, everything's fine. All of a sudden, you get it, and I guess there's outages with machine identities, huh?
So first of all, John, to all the Virginians out there, I love the Rapidan and the Shenandoah. Second, it's a great example, which is, what happens when there's a failure in machine identities. It's pretty much like the electricity going off, because that means just like your web browser can't talk to another web server, they can't work together. All the software that talks between a cloud, a data center, the way that now your car gets a software update from the cloud. Now, machine identity isn't working right. I can't trust that cloud. I can't authenticate it. Won't allow it. So this is something that, everyone here is benefiting from. And we also all, just like we have power outages, which we don't have too many of those these days, we do have many more actually machine identities. Because it's a lot more complicated in the machine world, like our brains wrapping our minds around that. It's really difficult. Yeah. Everyone's probably experienced it. Like LinkedIn has gone down. Spotify has gone down. Azure's gone down. I even saw, I think Starlink satellites went down. And why? Just because this one little thing, some of these machine identities are called certificates, just expired. Just imagine, which of course we could talk more, in the hands of an adversary, what they could do.
I'm sure if there are people listening to this who have sophisticated knowledge of cybersecurity, can contact you and do a 3-hour dive in PKI and encryption. I'm sure we're not going to do that today. I mean, I'm sure you can handle it. I know your technical background. Let's bring it up to the human level here. And here's a human level. Someone in the state of Wisconsin gets a phishing email, hits it, and they get hit with ransomware. It's happening all the time. Go to Google Trends. Ransomware is crazy. There's ransomware as a service now. So let's look at our machines. Can these machines be attacked? Can they be compromised?
Yeah, one of the things that the FBI alerted, especially us as cybersecurity professionals, what they were seeing was that cyber criminals were setting up fake websites to distribute malware, ransomware. And it wasn't just that they were fake sites. Actually, for example, in your browser, they were looking like real ones. The names, but also though they had trusted machine identities, which meant your browser said, hey, this is a good site. You could even enter your username and password. You might know that most web browsers today won't let you do that or enter a credit card unless there's a machine identity. So what do the fraudsters, the cyber criminals do? We need machine identities. We also see it today then when you download ransomware. Basically now, all software looks to see if that download, does it come with a trusted identity? Does the Excel spreadsheet that has a macro in it, is it signed? Is the software that you're going to install on your computer, Windows or OS X, does it come signed with an identity? And of course, what do the cyber criminals, the hackers do? They say, yep, we need to steal them. We need to use them, which the audience will have heard about probably, the prototype of all cyber attacks, which was Stuxnet. And so this will, I think, make it then, clear for the audience. So the goal of Stuxnet attacks, Stuxnet was to infect Iranian nuclear centrifuge systems. How do you get software to run everywhere? Even especially too, maybe software where there are cyber controls. You make it look like something else. And in the machine world, cyber world, that's a machine identity. So the architects of Stuxnet actually broke into Taiwanese companies. They stole the identities for building software, in this case, building audio driver software. You know, when you get an update, my audio drivers, it must be good. And so Stuxnet actually went around looking like it was from the company that was creating audio driver software. And of course, that made it run everywhere because it had this machine identity. It's a bit like, I show my passport. When I go in through passport control, same things happens as machines at all, whether it's running the software, whether I connect to a website, whether one cloud talks to another. Show me your passport. Can I authenticate you? We have to keep that safe. That's what we help do with machine identity management.
Kevin, I looked at your background, kind of interesting. I'm sure you spent many, many hours debating with software developers, and so have I. And these guys, they don't care what they'll argue the most ridiculous details forever and forever. And when I look at software development now, there's this concept called shift left. In other words, take the security considerations and move it more in the early part of the development. Right. And so I would think that there must be a maturation now of software development where they're starting to include these concepts in the early stages, the shift left. Is that a target audience for you, this whole software development folks?
It is. So first of all, as where I got my career started in the Department of Transportation as a software developer, software developers, what do we love? We love to do things fast. Our best friend, you know what a software developer's best friend is? It's Control
Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew.
Well, it's that, maybe Red Bull, but it's actually Control C, Control V. The best engineers are those that know how to copy and paste, which we could talk about a whole nother challenge as we move into the world of generative AI. But let's first talk about software developers. Their job is to build software, new features, amazing new features fast. That runs in many ways against, if you think whether you're going to build a house, build a road, build a plane, build it fast doesn't generally mean build it safe. So that's why, engineers, please focus on going fast, but there needs to be also engineers who think about how do you do that safe? And that's this whole rise of a security engineer. It's just not me as a cybersecurity professional saying, no, don't do that. That's not right. Actually, engineers helping other engineers be safe. I mean, same thing we see in the real world, whether you're building a plane or whether you're, building a house, there are architects or engineers that think about safety. That's the real emergent role in cybersecurity, not those that can write a policy. No, those that can write code. That's something that's changing fast.
So in the past, many software development, they're under the gun to produce something. This is quarter, this 90 days, whatever. They have a deadline. And so what it's possible they may have done is that this whole idea with the machine identities, it can be a laborious process. It's detail oriented. And so if you have a deadline and you can have to spend 2 days worrying about machine identities, well, it's possible humans may cut corners. and the one, I want a school bus, but I want it to get 10 miles to gallon, but I want a school bus, but I have to have it tomorrow, and you get pushed and pulled. And so right. I think that's perhaps where Venafi might fit in with the software developers is that, hey, you can get it done on time. Here's a little tool. We can help you with it and plug it in and bang. And all of a sudden the shift left actually doesn't delay anyone. It is a shift left and it meets the deadlines too.
Yeah, that's the change in cybersecurity is about making things easy and fast. So give software developers what they need, please. Software developers, I don't want you to have to sit and think or create creative ways of using machine identities because you've got to use it for zero trust. You've got to use it to be post-quantum ready and more. wow, let security engineers give that to you in a way that's safe. You just build your apps. Yeah, precisely right. It's this kind of idea of fast, secure. I do love Formula One. Unfortunately, my team is suffering and really suffering. But if you think about a Formula One engineer, they're building and they've got two things in their mind. They're building for the extreme of performance and also the extreme of safety, because you can't win a race unless you've got amazing brakes, unless you've got a driver.
It's the same push-pull, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same thing. And it's what we see in cybersecurity, which actually makes cybersecurity really, really cool and fun these days. Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with a title for this interview, and I bounced all kinds of different things out. I have a lot of test titles here. And I think at your company website, and I'll spell it out here. It's V as in victory, ENAFI.com. V as in victory. So what is Venafi? We orchestrates connections to machines needing certificates.
Yeah. Basically.
6 words. Real simple. What do you do? So that's really what you folks do. I'm trying to summarize this for someone who's maybe listening. So what is this? Oh, so that's what they do. They make sure it's secure and it can be done in a reasonable time frame.
Right. If you think about it, and the audience will, there are really two actors out there in the world. There are people and there are machines. And all of us as people, whether that be as citizens, whether that be as customers, whether that be as team members, we all have identities. Same thing goes in the machine world, whether that's in the cloud, whether that's in a data center, whether that's flying. All of those need identities too. And yep, that's what Venafi does. We make sure that all of those have machine identities, so you know which ones are good or bad, friend or foe.
And this isn't some topic that's just an obscure corner of a classroom at Georgetown talking about aspects of software development. No, I mean, there's executive orders now. We all know them. One came out in 2021, and they talked about improving the nation's cybersecurity. And the phrase they use is the word you just used, trust. Trust in digital infrastructure. Bang. Trust in digital infrastructure. So your company orchestrates what the EO wants. What they want this trust to be orchestrated so it's reliable, resilient, right, and doesn't suffer outages. That's resilience to me, isn't it?
Right. And what we've seen is, especially too with zero trust. So we've seen CISA release the Zero Trust 2.0 guidance. And again, zero trust is just about always authenticate. We think about always authenticating us as humans, always authenticate the machines. And the machine world is a bit different, though, than us as humans. In the last few minutes, since we've been talking at a cloud data center, not too far from where the audience is, there have been thousands, 10,000s of virtual machines or Kubernetes clusters started. And then maybe even some of them have gone away. The time it takes to get, 10,000, 100,000 citizens or 10,000 or 100,000 customers. It's a very different world in machines, which brings some unique challenges, which, of course, is what Venafi helps to do with machine identity management. So
some people will say, and many commentators have said, that the cloud is all about identity. Well, if it's all about identity, then it's about a human identity and a non-person identity. So it maybe is really the first step. It's the first step in zero trust. Every one of those silly pillars, and there's 5 pillars and 6 pillars, and every organization's got a different set of pillars. Same pillar. It's always identity, isn't it? That's you guys.
It is. It is. Because, as we move to the cloud, it used to be back in the day, again, when I was at the Department of Transportation, you could go down to a data center and you could go down and say, yep, that server is helping these customers. When it's out in the cloud, I've got no idea, first of all, where it is. So we have to have identity to know what's your cloud, my cloud, the US government's cloud, the UK government's cloud, and also, of course, what might the adversary be? So that identity is at its core. And think about as we head to a world of AI, of machine learning, of generative AI, which model is good or bad, friend or foe? Which code, for example, comes out of that generative AI is good or bad, friend or foe? So these are all challenges. Again, the audience has been using machine identities, and we're going to hear more and more about it.
That reminded me, I remember years ago, I would work with software developers and they would order servers, put them in the server room and load the software on the server so you could watch them do it. And I've been in a data center. Can you imagine walking in a data center and having any idea what's going on? It's loud. You have to talk about identity, 52 identities to even get in a data center.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask one question, then I'm going to have to release you from this interview. So I went to your website. I stumbled on something called the Venafi Academy. So what's that?
Yeah, so the Venafi Academy is something that's unique for our customers. It's a learning resource. We, take it really important and upon ourselves to make sure that we are training the cybersecurity, the machine identity management professionals of the future. So the Venafi Academy is our investment, personal investment in our customers so that they have the skills for today and that they're future proof for tomorrow. There's never going to be enough cybersecurity professionals, so we have to become smarter. We have to be able to build code. That's one of the things. Machines are building machines today, and I don't mean robots building cars. That they're building software, whether that's the generative AI or whether that's building one cloud instance or 10,000 in the last 5 seconds. So bringing education to help everyone become smarter, faster, and then ultimately as a society, the world that Venafi envisions. Venafi envisions a world where machines and humans, we cooperate, we are successful together. And that starts with learning, all of us learning.
Well, unfortunately, Kevin, we're running out of time here. You have been listening to the Federal Tech Podcast with John Gilroy. I'd like to thank my guest, Kevin Bocek, Vice President, Security Strategy and Threat Intelligence at a company called Venafi.
Thanks for listening to the Federal Tech Podcast. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcast.